can go whenever we're ready. I'll hit record. Do you want to wait a minute for Heather, or I didn't hear from her to say whether she's coming or not, but
Oh, I guess we can start. Sure.
we have a quorum.
It's like Larry
we
B
do.
trying to get on. Do you see that, everybody?
Larry is with the city's marketing department. He is the one who's streaming us.
Do we have any visitors for today that have asked to call in or to otherwise be present?
And Antonina Waples requested, but I don't see her here. I sent her the link.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else from the city? Meredith, anybody else?
I don't see Meredith.
Okay. All right. Well,
But I did hear from her. So
I'm reclining. Sorry.
everybody get comfortable. I'll call the meeting to order and have everybody go around and just voice that you're here.
Do you want to go? We could go India.
Here.
David.
Here.
Betsy.
Here.
Elizabeth.
Here.
Janie Wilson.
Here.
Jane Dabb.
Here.
Barbara Campbell.
Where did Barbara go?
I saw Barbara.
Was here.
Was Barbara? She's long
Oh.
gone.
Meredith is
She'll
here.
come back. Oh, there's
Meredith there.
Oh.
I think she might have had some trouble because I saw her face, but it seemed to freeze up. So she'll probably come back. And then John Rushton.
I'm here with a new hip.
With a new hip.
My.
Really?
Congratulations.
God,
Wow. Okay.
bionic man. Heather Levinson, not here.
Okay. Well, isn't our first order of business usually to declare the minutes and ask for an approval of our minutes from the last meeting?
So moved.
Who was that? Is that India?
Janie.
Janie?
You move that we approve.
Hmm?
Do I have a second for approval?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Should we just do a roll call vote?
I think we should.
We could do India. Yay or nay? Oh, India looks
Looks
frozen.
frozen.
Yeah. Approved.
David,
Approve.
Betsy,
Approved.
Elizabeth,
Approve.
Janie Wilson,
Approved.
Jane Dabb,
Approve.
and John Rushton.
Approve.
Okay. Motion passes. Approved minutes. Kelly, you want to take us through what we're going to accomplish today in the meeting?
Yeah, so we have a few items. The main two would be the memory wall. We just have a recommendation from the group that worked on that. And then the public art plan, I just did a little tweaking just to reflect our current reality. And you have what the document looks like, and you have the trackages document that underlines and crosses out. And then Barbara requested we talk about a possible COVID-19 project. So, but the first item I have on there is the budget, and that was just to give you an update to say that the public art budget comes out of the occupancy tax.
All right. Mm-hmm.
For hotel rooms, which nobody's renting. So, in putting together the budget, the city council removed this year's and next year's budget for public art, which leaves us about $90,000 remaining until at least next July. July 2021 is when the next budget year starts.
Yeah.
So it's still plenty to work with. We still have $50,000 in the bank for the 4th Street project in front of the Grubb properties. And Laura White says they're still moving forward with that building, and still wants to move forward with the art. So we still have that project going forward. And then we have the bus shelters, which are in a good place right now to move forward. So the next item is for this Aratone grant, and I'm hoping Meredith can unmute and give us an update if there is one that occurred over the last half hour since I talked to her. If not, I will simply say that. Oh, hi, Meredith.
Hi. So
Anything happened in the last half hour?
no, nothing has occurred. Recreation has not heard from Councilmember Scipio, nor has anyone in our office. So hopefully we'll hear from her and speak with her this afternoon.
Okay. So Betsy and I had been working with Councilmember Scipio to come up with an idea. It appeared that we had a workable idea for a project to apply for this grant, but the council member wanted to concentrate on Bell Park, which is not a park that has any bond funding going on right now, which would make it difficult to come up with the required match for the project. So she said that she would try to find a match and reach out to some organizations, but we haven't heard from her, and the deadline to get an item on the city council committees that would hear this item is today. So we're still waiting, and hopefully she'll find that, and we will apply for this project, but we don't know. That's kind of where we stand now. So beyond that, we don't really have a project description, just because it's pretty well up in the air at this point.
So Kelly, if we, the last time we spoke, I thought there was the possibility, like, we want to get it on the agenda and we want to, run it through city council, but I understood last time that it wasn't necessarily imperative to have that happen at this meeting. The reason I ask is I do have a meeting scheduled tomorrow with the Science of Winston-Salem and Collidium.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm just wondering about proceeding with that. But we'll just wait and hear from Councilperson Scipio hopefully this afternoon.
Yeah, hopefully.
I would, just to speak up and say, I think it does need to go to committee if there's any sort of city match being associated with it, even if it's something that's already budgeted, just to make council aware of it. And so we're very anxiously awaiting, and she's been well aware that it needs to go to committees and council, and knowing that we're not meeting in July, this is the last chance really, so, for this year.
I'll touch base with you after the meeting, Betsy, and let you know if anything comes up. But that's kind of where we stand today.
Gotcha.
Kelly, did you need, you went, I asked you to go through some of these items. Are there items like, is the public art plan something that we need our approval? We need to vote on? We need to have a longer discussion about?
Yeah, it is. That and the memory wall
And the
are
memory wall.
two
Okay.
things. And did you all get the, if you want, we can move on to that. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah.
So the memory wall, we had a working group put together, Barbara, India, and then Wendy Earl, David Brown, Cliff Dosel, Phil Cohen, Teresa Dowell Dennis, Tina Carson Wilkins, and Tom Patterson. And these are all people who are currently involved with SECA or were involved with the memory wall, and that are Public Art Commission members, or are involved with the Transit Center. So they all met several times, explored different avenues for restoring the wall, and then with a couple projects. The first would be to request bids for restoring the wall, and that would include cleaning the wall, recreating missing sculptures that are on top of the wall, or were on top of the wall, changing the contours on the top so that water doesn't collect by either drilling holes in the bird nests, or else changing the contour of the top, repainting the elements that were originally painted, repairing or replacing some of the vintage hubcaps with like hubcaps, and then replacing the original plaques with something more permanent like porcelain or ceramic, and then including an option for an annual maintenance contract. So we don't have a budget for this. This would just be requesting bids to see how much something like this would cost, and then going through the process of approving it if there's somebody who can do this project for a reasonable amount. And then they recommended a second parallel project, which would be to add new signage in the style of historic marker that explains the wall's restoration, Mr. Imagination, and the memory wall project all together. And then possibly to highlight the 5 African Americans associated with the Transit Center, Clark Campbell, who the center is named after, Willie Birch, an artist, 2 commissions inside the Transit Center, Leo Rucker, who's a local artist who did the poles, the paint murals on the poles, and then architect Wesley Curtis of Walter Robbs, Callahan, and Pierce, who were the lead architects on the Transit Center, and then Mr. Imagination. And then SECA has funding that may be able to be used for this. It's restricted to a project that I can't remember the wording that they had for it, but it's restricted funding that could really be used for this project, and they can't really use for much else. So they might throw in for the budget for this.
Do we have any idea how much money SECA has?
I don't right now, no.
Okay. I'm just thinking if the bids come back at $10 and they have $5, I guess we make up the other $5.
Yeah, that would be up to you, and then depending on how much it is, city council. I mean, if it's a really, if it comes back like, oh gosh, this is going to cost $100,000, then it needs to go to city council, or even over $20,000 actually, it needs to go to city council. So But if it's less than that, then it can probably be approved out of the city manager's office.
I have a question for those of you that were on this group. Is the group pretty confident that the sculptures that are on top could be refabricated or remade?
David, this is Barbara Campbell. Can you hear me?
Hi, Barbara. Welcome.
Thanks. I had trouble getting on, but I'm here now. There are a couple things that I'm on that committee and a couple of questions I have. I think they did decide that they would be easily replicated, the birds and so forth. But I guess my concern is about that parallel project. And I don't know if we're putting a bid out for just the first part of it, or is that parallel project going to be included in the bid? That was one question. I thought we said they would be separate.
Right, they would be separate.
Okay. And then with that parallel project, there was some discussion about adding pieces like memory pieces to that, whatever that sculpture was or whatever. I don't know where we left that. I sort of got the impression they thought that happen, but am I incorrect?
I thought we came down on the side that it wouldn't really be workable, just because you know the wall is what it is, and you'd have to take something out of it to add more pieces.
So it's mostly going to be a marker, a historical type marker, and information. Okay, I'm okay with that. All right. I just didn't want us to be collecting things from people or whatever, and then, not have room for them. And I just thought that was a little, there was a lot of discussion about that.
Yeah, my notes say that, I mean, we discussed that, but I don't think we came to any kind of conclusion that was workable.
Okay.
Okay, are there any other questions about this item?
No, but I'm glad to see it moving ahead.
It's been some time. Yeah, it's good. Thanks for everybody that's been working on this. I think it's really significant to at least have one major piece in the city by an African-American artist. It's not the only one, but it establishes a history. And I think that's really important now I think we see today more than ever that this piece is preserved and really brought to light as well.
I agree with that. What's our next step on that, Kelly? What do we need?
It would be to make a motion to move forward with a request for proposals. Would it be a request for proposals, or I guess it would be to move forward with a bidding and request for proposals.
How do we do a bid though if we have no idea what the funding could be?
Well, the funding would come out of the public art budget and SECA.
Are we going to set an amount though, or?
I thought that if we did a bid, we would include a price in it, or the contractor or the artist would include their price, so we could, our commission could consider whether it was worth it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make that motion to get that bid.
And is that for the first project, or do you want to keep them separate?
Yeah.
I think they should be separate myself, just because you don't know the price of anything. If you had a total price on both of them, you could keep them together, but without pricing, it's probably better to bid them separately.
Yeah, I think that's the plan, but we want to vote on them separately as separate items. We can.
Okay. So John
made a motion to put this out to bid for the first. Is that for the main body of work?
Yeah.
And not the signage? If we're going to do that separately.
Right.
Okay, do we have a second for that?
Second.
Okay. So the motion's been made to do the restoration, to get a bid for restoration on the memory wall. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Do you want it? Can we do it?
by person?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'll start with David,
Yes.
Janie,
Yes.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
Betsy,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Barbara.
We lost
Barbara.
Barb.
Barbara, you're muted.
I saw her mouth move.
Okay, now say yes.
Yes.
And then India.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, the motion passes. Now for the second part of it, which is the signage portion. Do I have a motion or for that? She's raising her finger. Yes. Okay, that's first. A second from
Second.
Jane.
Mhm.
Okay. So now we're going to vote on the second part of that. And Kelly, you can do the
Okay.
roll call.
Then David,
I vote yes.
Janie,
Yes.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
Betsy,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
and India. You're muted.
Can't
And-
see her either, so we might have lost her.
Mm.
You might have lost India on that one. She had a young one that was scooting around that she may need to pay attention to more than us right now.
Okay.
We're still good. That's good. Okay.
All right. So that would bring us to the public art plan. And after last month's conversation, I threw in a few updates that reflected the current state of the economy. Added language like prior to the coronavirus pandemic and things like that. And then there's no substantive changes. It's just reflecting the coronavirus. But then in the implementation table, I just thought maybe you'd want to discuss the timing for going to city council and the board of county commissioners and asking for public art funding and percent for art. It was originally an immediate goal. And immediate means within 1 to 2 years. But then I thought maybe you'd want to consider short range, which would bring it out 3 to 5 years. Obviously, none of us knows what's going to happen. So I'm just bringing it up as just a point of conversation. And, it's your recommendation.
What page is that on, Kelly?
The implementation table is on page 22 of the marked up document. Would it help if I brought them up on screen?
Oh,
All right.
got it.
Let's try to put my glasses over my glasses. Pretty bad.
Page
It
22.
would help me, Kelly, but if it's a pain in the butt, don't worry about it. I can pull it up on my phone.
There's a screen share. Okay.
Everybody see this?
Yep.
Kelly, can I ask you what normally would be when we vote on this, like what is the process then? How does this go public? What is the rollout of our plan after this? What's the plan for the plan? In other words,
So I would recommend that you make any changes or edits to it today that you want, and then do do some kind of online public input session where we disseminate the document, put it out there for the public to read and comment on, collect comments over the next couple months, and then have a meeting where people would be invited for public comment at the meeting on the public art plan, and then make any changes if needed based on that, and then it would go from there to city council and the county commissioners.
So it's 4 to 6 months.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very difficult to see how a lot of public engagement can be done with it in person in that time frame, right?
Yeah, I
Mhm.
mean,
I don't know.
we're not really having big public meetings like that, so
And so when would it be, when would the ideal, not the ideal, when was it planned to be given to city council and for some of the,
May.
that was the plan.
The plan was to have this go, have this go to the Public Art Commission in April, and then go to City Council in May, just so that they could consider these things in their budget. And then, but that didn't happen for obvious reasons.
Right. So it seems to me like maybe would the plan B be a fall rollout for this, potentially gathering information in late summer and early fall and then rolling it out in October? Was that too soon?
Or September.
Yeah.
Because we could put it online, we could attach a survey to it, we can gather comments that way. It could be out in the public realm for 6 weeks or something like that, and then you would have comments going into the September meeting, and then could adopt it then with any changes that you felt it needed.
That sounds good. I think we would want, I mean, we have a number of organizations that we're involved with and partnered with and have done things with that we should present it to them and weigh in with them. Those are, stakeholders that we need to really engage with this and get them on board with it and have them understand what we're looking for. And I think, by the way, let me just say, Kelly, thanks for all the work that you've done on this, because
Sure.
I read through it and it reads very well. It's very fluid. It's really comprehensive, I think. And so my hat is off to you on that.
Thanks.
Yeah, I agree. It's great. It's great work.
Thank you. When you mention bringing this to different organizations, maybe it would be good to go even another month, instead of trying to do this in 6 weeks, do it in 10 weeks or something like that, and really try and get it in the hands of, just because things are going a little slower now. And then that might, by the time it gets out of that process, we might have a better idea of where things stand in the world, and you can make a timing decision on when to go to city council and the county commissioners, just with more, by having more information based on that process.
Mm-hmm.
I like that idea. I think it's I think it's great. We will get a lot of feedback digitally, but there are some significant chunks of population that we might miss having that digital feedback. And if we share with partners from the past and partners that we hope to work with, they can be really helpful in broadening the reach of feedback on this. So I do think a little bit longer timeline makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just from my point of view, how are we as far as the next, year and a half, like right now, if we have no new funding coming in, Kelly, where do we stand? Let's just say, because who knows? I'm starting to think things going to be pushed out and out and out. They had 163 new cases of coronavirus in one day yesterday, overnight, Forsyth County, for instance. So who knows how things are going to be pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. We're not in a situation where there's need to be emergency funds or we need to completely change the way we're thinking or anything like that. I mean, how do you feel we stand like right now as far as the next year and a half?
Well, I mean, we have $90,000. We have we have one project that's moving forward, which is the 4th Street project in front of the Grubb Properties building. That's a $50,000 project, which is not that's already taken out of this budget. This budget is unaccounted for. So we'll have the memory wall project. I'm kind of hopeful that is an inexpensive project, especially when the SECA funds come in. And then we could do the artistic bus shelters are 12 pieces of art, and the whole project was $20,000. Could do another round of those and still have plenty of funding to work with, possibly apply for some grants. I mean, could really make this last.
Okay, yeah.
And then there's still the possibility of Marshall Park happening. I mean, I don't know what the timeline is for that, if anybody knows, but that's another project that's out there that could find an artist.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Are there other questions and discussion about the plan? Kelly, did you need an answer for what to fill in for the timing on the first two goals? You want our advice?
Yeah, I think it's something that you could think about and decide on after the public comment period, or you could say, oh, I think we really need to push this off, or I think we really need to do this now. I mean, it's it's not an answer I need today.
Okay.
But if there were any edits that you thought, in these red line edits that didn't fit or were worded clunky or anything, let me know.
And so Kelly, you said for immediate goals, that was like within a year. And
1 to 2 years, yeah.
1 to 2 years. And what does short range indicate?
3 to 5. I mean, 1 to 2 years after adoption, if we're talking about adopting it in the fall, you're talking about late 2022 to go and ask for these things. And a percent for art ordinance, it could relate only to bond projects. So it wouldn't surprise anybody. It wouldn't say, oh gosh, this puts a real constraint on our budget. It would be, well, we adopted percent for art, so when we do these projects, we have to consider when we're going when we're bringing the bonds to the public to vote on, we have to consider that it would include this funding on parks projects and streetscape projects, things like that. So it shouldn't necessarily surprise anybody or constrain the budget, since it's voted on by the public every single time. And then, but the other budget, where we have the 55,000 now, that right now depends on occupancy tax, and nobody knows what's going to happen with that.
Yep. True.
Is there any further discussion? Any other? I can't see everybody on my. Maybe I better look at see if I can see everybody on the screen here. Whoa. Okay.
Well, if Kelly takes a document off, it'll probably all pop up.
Yeah, does anybody need to see the document anymore?
No.
We're good.
Okay. So we can maybe, if there's no more discussion, we could make a motion to approve of this public art plan as it is right now, knowing that there are going to be changes to it down the line, right?
Yeah, it would just be voting to
adopt it.
Roll out this public art flow. Well, not to adopt it, but to bring it out to the public. And do you want to say for a 10-week public comment period?
It just sounds like such a long time to me. I don't have any experience in this kind of thing, but it just sounds.
Well, the reason I was thinking 10 weeks might be because, we'd want to bring this to, the Arts Council Board, Creative Corridors, lots of different boards of different arts organizations. They might not be meeting right now, or it might take a while for them to get something on their agenda or something like that. So I wanted to kind of give them a little time to do that in a more official capacity, since it's kind of hard to have a public meeting now and just invite people there and say, this is when we're having our discussion. That's more why I was thinking that.
Okay. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, 10 weeks takes us closer into the fall.
Yeah, the last 10 weeks have gone by like 10 minutes.
It's true.
Well, do I have a motion do I hear a motion to approve of this plan?
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
So it would be to take the plan in
Make
this
it public.
state to, yes.
Yeah.
Second.
Somebody second. I'll second if nobody else has.
Okay. Thank you. Kelly?
Okay, David,
Yes.
Janie,
Yes.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
Betsy,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
India.
India.
She can't hear us?
India, can you hear us?
I approve. I can hear you. You can't hear me?
Okay, yeah, we can hear you now.
Now you're moving.
Oh, yeah. I approve.
Okay. All right, very good. So project reports. Here, I'm going to do another share screen. I'm going to show you some pictures I took last Friday at the farmer's market.
Oh,
Wow.
So he's
okay.
not quite done yet, but he's closing in. He'll probably be done by the end of the week. So this is the accent wall. And then
Cool.
Wow. Mhm. Great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very nice.
and
Oh,
then
good.
yeah, I'm and then you can
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Gosh, nice detail.
that eggplant really looks like an eggplant.
Yeah, I know. It's really
That's the
great.
sheen of an eggplant. So he's filling in some more detail this week, and he's going to put the clear coat on. And
Mm-hmm.
I talked to the marketing department, and they said, we're not really doing events yet, but maybe we could do like a Facebook Live unveiling or something like that. So,
Cool.
Nice.
Is the market going to be, has the market opened? Is it,
the market is open. They're doing it in the parking lot with the
Okay.
booths separated.
yeah.
to get
What
people-
about news coverage?
The journal had contacted me, and they have his number, and I was under the impression that they were going out there. Maybe they're going to do like a photo package of it
Mm.
under,
Be nice to have something besides COVID-19 on the news once in a while.
it would.
We'd also talked about maybe putting up the Public Art Commission's logo and just note what the work was. We talked about that with the otter that you don't get close to, but with this project you can, you walk right up to it. Is that something we want to consider?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great
Yep.
idea.
Yeah.
Would there otherwise not be any information at the site?
Right.
Yeah.
That's important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we
Great
had a. Go ahead, Janie.
No, I just said Betsy, that's a great idea. Thank you.
No, we had discussed this in some committee, I know, about making sure pieces of art that the commission had put money into would be somewhere acknowledged or put into a plaque or something.
Would that also be for the bus shelters then?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we talked, I think it was that we talked about as well.
Yeah, I'll look into doing some signage
Mm-hmm.
for this, for these, since it's two of them.
Yeah.
Does Hieronymus have his name on that somewhere?
I'm not sure. Maybe
I
not
think
yet.
his name ought to be on. It's okay with me if his name is on there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he'll have any problem signing his name to it.
Okay.
He'll probably sign it by the end.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, good. Good.
And then the artistic bus shelters, they're within budget so far. So far, so good. I had to get a different quote from the printer, the vinyl printer, because some of the shelters are the new type, with the silver with the 3 glass panels.
Right.
So they're a little bigger, but we're still within budget. And then the Maya Angelou estate, we had to ask their permission to use her likeness. You might remember that we had to pay them for that piece in the Benton.
Oh, God.
So we're going to be doing the same, but for a little less this time for this one. I think we got away with the minimum fee of $250. Since it's a temporary project.
Hmm. Hmm.
And yeah, so that's it for that.
Mm.
And then the Our Town grant, that's a mistake
Mm.
on the project reports. So
Wow.
Was that it on the project reports?
yep, that was it.
So Marshall Park is, that's just down the road somewhere.
It's down the road.
Okay.
I don't know how far down the road.
Okay.
Do you ever have a conversation with any of the stakeholders about that or not?
John Marshall reached out in March and just say hey, and he'd like to be included in the conversations. But that's all I've heard.
Kelly, I'll see what kind of update I can get for this group for next meeting. Our
Okay.
next meeting. I think Evan, a coworker in my office, has had a couple updates on at least the status of the overarching project, and that would give us an idea of just where we stand as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then other business, Barbara wanted to discuss a possible COVID-19 project.
I just thought that since there have been projects within the city, like Mask the City and some of the other things, that it would be interesting. And we talked about the city as a museum. I think Betsy's mentioned that. That wouldn't it be interesting to some way document what's happening with a piece of art, public art? So I just thought that it might be something to consider. I know there have been a few things going on around town, but I think it would be interesting to do something and possibly make, put out a proposal to, with a limited budget to do something. That was just a thought.
Yeah.
So Kelly, you this is a slight sidetrack. I'll tie it back in again. We had talked with Philip Summers about exhibiting the bus shelter applications somehow publicly, and I don't know whether we want to act quickly on a work of permanent public art for COVID-19. I like the idea. I haven't thought about it, but I'm just also wondering about some kind of sharing of artwork that people are making in response. Our students at School of the Arts have been making some extraordinary short films and photographs, and right now our protests downtown, aren't always directly related, but it does say so much about just the lived experience of people during COVID-19 that we are protesting, and we are protesting with masks and with all kinds of efforts to care for each other. My first thought is not of a work of art, but of some kind of public museum or public gallery that might be digital, or it might be some other form. People are making beautiful photographs downtown of the protests, and we're losing our citizens. There could be some memorial or some kind of photograph or marker of loss or of hope. Or
I saw that Owens Daniels was doing masks, and I was really intrigued by that. That, along with the Mask the City project, as being really kind of a public art project, because it has the potential to get spread and in some way, define the city in a way too. So I don't know if there's a way that could be, that we can help that along, that we could, incorporate that, or that we could promote that whole idea. But the idea of having artists make masks, is pretty might be something that is worth exploring for this. I thought that, Barbara, that was sort of one of the things that you had picked up on to, you know.
I did. I had sent that article out about Owen Daniels. I just think that I think it was mentioned that when there have been other like the Spanish flu, things like that, that there hasn't always been documentation to go back and look at it. I just think it would be nice to have some historical documentation of what's going on right now that would be in some way lasting. But I like the idea. I mean, I like Betsy's idea of having a number of different projects. I just wonder what the longevity of that would be. But yeah.
Well, would it make sense for us to try to partner with other organizations in the city to do something that would be where people could file through and it would be a kind of a gallery sort of situation? Not only, I mean, along with, of course, being online, but could we lend our weight and maybe some leadership to having a number of groups in the fall, collect documents, collect artworks, and then make something that is happening very kind of spontaneously almost throughout the city? I mean, that sounds like a tall order, but I don't think this is something that we alone could really do necessarily or would want to do by ourselves, but along with some of the other arts organizations that really be possible, and maybe we could help.
Yeah, I mean, I really love to see us take the lead on something. I think all of you guys, excellent ideas. It's an absolutely historic time.
Yeah.
It's going, and artists are going to bring us all out of this like they always do in the past. Art is going to lead the way. And I think if we could really be the people that maybe make that happen, or the leaders of a group of people that make something. I agree with Barbara. I think something that's, this is as big as any war or, stock market crash or anything. This is going to be something 100 years from now. People talk about, loss of life, loss of hope. There's a lot going on right now. And, we're still in the middle of it. Who knows how long it's going to last, the pandemic part of it. I don't know if you guys saw the journal pictures of the protesters yesterday. There were some extraordinary images. The young people laying down, face down with their hands behind their back, the shadows of that. It was an incredible picture. I don't know who took it. I don't know if I ever saw who took it. I don't think it was Owens, but
Andrew Dye.
It was fantastic. I mean, it should have been national. But anyway, I would love, as an artist, I would love to see us in the little bit of time that we have together as a group to take the lead on something like this. Because I really do think that when we're all gone, it's still going to be something that's huge. A big part of history. And in that regard, I think something permanent makes more sense. Something that's there.
The other thing is, I really think it should be something that as many people as possible get exposure to. I think, putting things in a gallery.
Uh-oh. Barbara, you froze. Barbara can't hear us.
Oh my. While we're waiting on Barbara to come back, what about the new Winston Museum as being one of our partners in this project?
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Is everybody froze? Okay. Nobody was moving there for a moment. It was like, yeah.
I would just wonder, like, if, for example, if the convention center isn't going to have any conventions in the next 6 months, and maybe that's bad for me to say that, but that is the kind of space that you could file people that you could do a really big show. You could do a show in that space, an art show, and really call attention to this time, by having that kind of an exhibition. Now, I'm talking about something that's temporary, and this is just in regard to your comments, John, because I think that doing permanent things at this point may be pretty challenging. I think we're going to need a little bit more time, but I'm talking about something that would be, you know, within the next year and be organized by a group of people. I know it's I mean, it's pretty difficult to do things like that, and but it doesn't necessarily have to be permanent or really, really high quality. I think it's more important to have it be so that it's very accessible to people, and then therefore it probably should be online as well.
Yeah, that's everything I'm involved with right now is going virtual. I mean, even to the point we're trying to do virtual craft shows online. So there's a lot of people worried that this is going to continue for another year. So
Yeah.
And yeah,
I was going to say that, I mean, I was thinking, I recently did a talk with UNCG's MFA students. And what I found is that for many artists and even students, it's very difficult to make work right now, right? And many artists it's just hard to be motivated to do those things. And so I was thinking I think what a lot of artists need when we have these kind of Zoom conversations and institutions is some kind of like inspirational, kind of what Betsy was saying, some kind of inspirational, it could be a forum or some kind of like large critique or something where people can kind of share, like a platform for them to share what they're going through. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the form of like a painting or a photograph. It could be spoken word. It could be, you know, just a way for artists to have a kind of collective experience. And I think that maybe that might be something we can kind of spearhead, this kind of collective experience where anybody can, I mean, I was on a Zoom call and it was 500 people from all over the world, right? So like if Zoom can do a 500 people call from people all over the world, right? I think we could spearhead some kind of conference call or some kind of large forum where people in North Carolina or local people can kind of come together and share, and it could be moderated by someone, you know, and it is open. So I don't know, like after talking to the students at UNCG, I just found like a lot of people, it's just hard to even move forward each day, you know, for people who are like losing loved ones, you know, it's just, I think maybe it's not about making something, but more about making connections with each other while we kind of go through all these different things. There's so many things happening, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, it's good.
I mean, it's a weird time. I hated being, you know, and I had it easy compared to what other people would, just being in the hospital and nobody getting to be there with me or visit, or, I mean, it was really weird. You know, that's just a small, you know, there are a lot of people that can't even, well, you've heard all the stories, so I don't need to repeat them, but it's an interesting time for sure. And I'm sure, like India, I can't imagine that there aren't a lot of artists just really isolated and broke and, you know, can't get canvas, can't get paint.
Can't get materials. Yeah,
I mean, it's incredible.
But I think you can, I mean, there are a lot of institutions too that are struggling across the country, across the world. And so I think that we can, I mean, I think we have the capability to spearhead some kind of, you know, community engagement where, you know, institutions can kind of come together like a collective. You know, something that can kind of bring some hope, I think.
Yeah, I could see this. So there's the idea that you're having of something that's an online share.
Yeah, like an online share, like a
call it that for time being.
A large,
yeah, large audience, online share.
I could imagine there being some question like what image gives you hope, or what what action is sustaining you. I don't know what it would be, but some kind of frame or just a concept that people respond to with a cake or with a with a gesture or with a t-shirt or like some question that could generate making or just like image capturing, not necessarily something as formal as a work of art, but an expression of some kind that then is shared in the forum.
I mean, like the national, this is just a thought, I could be totally wrong, but like the National Theater Festival, when they have their spoken word thing, and it's like, I don't know, 200 people, what they do is they have this large pot that you put your name in. And so they're just randomly selecting people for like 2 hours, and each person can kind of, and once your name is selected, it's your turn to say something. And so let's say if we had like 300 people on this large Zoom platform, they will submit their names, and each person would get, I don't know, 10 minutes to say, I mean, it would just be kind of way how to kind of like, I guess, logistics on how to make it work. I don't know. I know the National Black Theater Festival does that large pot of names and calls folks and gives people opportunities to share their thoughts. It could be something as simple as that. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
To Jane's point about about Muse Winston-Salem, they were working with Larry the Poet, who also does spoken word and coordinates a lot of kind of moth-like events for spoken word. They started that program at Muse Winston-Salem in the spring, I think, in January, and then I guess that's ended. It seems like tying that together with the idea that India's sharing could be a good collaborator.
We could even get a celebrity. I mean, everybody's at home right now. So, some people, everybody's available, like, so we can even get somebody to like moderate this thing, for us who's like maybe well known, because they're at home, right? And they could moderate this kind of, to bring more awareness. I mean, I just saw Alicia Keys do a commencement speech. She's clearly at her house,
Right.
Everybody's available,
Everybody's at home and available and probably eager to share some of that thing. We all curate our little spaces, it's just interesting to look around and see.
Yeah.
So there's something in that. Now, what about this? I mean, I think it's got the real potential to, communicate. If this is a big online Zoom meeting, if it was, for instance, not limited to artists in our area, but it had that focus, that would be something that would be, really an interesting thing to do. It hasn't ever been done before.
Right.
Very cool.
I mean, in Winston-Salem, we all have our little groups of artists, based around different institutions. But wouldn't it be great to have sort of a town hall meeting of people sharing their work and sharing their ideas from Forsyth County, from Winston-Salem?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Would it be boring? That's what I want to know.
Have you guys seen, and this is, I hate to say, a Facebook thing, but have you guys seen the view from my window thing that's on Facebook? Everyone's saying no. It's and I don't know how it functions, but if you look on Facebook view from my window, and it's like everyone during this pandemic has taken a picture out their window, and it's an incredible thing, and it's worldwide. You obviously need to, what you're talking about is Forsyth County, and Winston-Salem it'd be a whole lot smaller, but it's actually, it's kind of a movable thing, and it could last as long as you want it to last. Again, I don't know how this group stuff works on Facebook. I don't know anything about it, but it seems like if it's a if it's a giant Zoom meeting, don't you, who is that little India? Oh, there's someone over there.
Let me touch this, mommy. Can I touch this button? No.
It seems like everyone would have to like show up at the same time if it's a giant Zoom meeting, and this view from my window is kind of always there. And you can tell when the moderator loads up a bunch of pictures, because they all show up all on the same time. But it's people are saying where they are and where everybody else is who's looking at them. It's a very interesting concept that kind of sounds like what you're talking about here. But it's a Facebook platform thing. I don't know how to do what you guys were talking about, and I don't know how to do this Facebook thing, but so I'm not very helpful in that regard. But it's a great, the Winston-Salem Forsyth County concept is a great concept. The view from my window is a way that they've done that same sort of thing already. It's a COVID-19, but that's kind of what they've been doing. And they're still pictures. They're not videos. And I don't know who the moderator is. I don't know anything about it, but it's a fascinating project that's ongoing in that thing.
Well, one of the great things about all the Zoom stuff that's going on is people are, pretty good with it, pretty quickly, and are picking it up, and they're used to it, and it's accessible. I mean, we have a trivia group. We play twice a week, and we have one guy's in Tulsa, one guy's in Tallahassee, one guy's in Dallas, and everybody it's just really it's amazing how easy it is to get something like that together.
Right.
Probably for the first time in history, I guess. It's never been this easy to get people from all over, however big you want to have it. Somebody can be on from London just as easy, so
Right.
It would be cool to get an artist group like that.
India, you were talking about something that was 500 people on Zoom. What was that?
It was curators and directors all over the world, and we were just kind of talking about the state of art and what as institutions, how are we managing? Like, how are institutions managing? How are they moving forward? And so it was about 500 people. The first time Zoom didn't have enough room for everybody, so it was only 100. And then the second time they do it, maybe twice a month. So they've done it twice a month since like March. And it's always a different person kind of leading the conversation, usually someone really higher up in art. And they lead the conversation, and you can ask as many questions, people are asking questions, but there's about 500 people on the call from all over the world, right? And talking about, well, what is art right now, and how do we move forward? And so really getting those bigger institutions, how do you help smaller institutions? How do we collaborate more? Things like that. How do you, motivate your staff that may not feel, inspired to be where they are? How do you get more lean than you already are? So those kind of conversations, which literally they organized it in like a week, like everybody's kind of desperate to have these kind of conversations. So it's not going to take a whole lot of effort to get people to join it, right?
Yeah.
I think we could easily do it. I mean, they did 500 folks in a week. I think we could, we could make that happen. And it could be local. It doesn't have to be, but be open to anybody. We could target local folks or people in North Carolina who just want to have a conversation with one another.
I know that the Hispanic League has been doing a series of lectures or discussions online. Their first one had like 26 people. Within a month, it went over 120 some people. So, because people are desperate for information depending on the topic. And I think our artists in the area would engage with us on this easily.
And it sounds like what Jane and India are talking about with these ongoing monthly meetings, it does need to be ongoing, because you're going to miss it the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. It doesn't. I mean, we could do it. I mean, they do it twice a month, but ours doesn't have to be that frequent. You know.
Mm. Yeah, not once a week, maybe.
Well, would it make sense to try to gather a group of people that are in our area that would be people that are involved with especially visual arts, but not only exclusively visual arts, also spoken word and a range of people, and get them together in a Zoom meeting to explore this possibility, to
Yeah.
say to everybody, look, we've got this idea that we want to do this big thing here in Winston-Salem. It may only happen one time. We may make it repeat, but we'd like to get some folks together who kind of know what they're talking about. Maybe, I mean, I don't feel like I really know what I'm talking about. I've been to big Zoom meetings, but it doesn't feel too interactive to me. So I think that would be a step that we could take as an intermediate step to try to plan something like this and get other people involved other than public art group. How does that sound as a way to step forward on this idea? At least a tiptoe forward.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be on a Zoom meeting tonight with the APHIS board. I could easily, if you guys want me to bring something like that up and just say, would people be interested? A pretty big group of people. There'll probably be about 40 Winston-Salem artists and those types, on the call. To get to see if
Sure.
there's any interest, to see how they feel about it. I'd be glad to do that. Just to bring it up.
Sure. I mean, I'm willing to, because of my institutional Zoom, I'm able to make these large, as far as I know, large and long meetings. I'm very willing to be the host for it. And if I could get, if we could get everybody to chip in the names of people and organizations that should be involved, and then have everybody make calls and get a number of people involved, and then have this meeting. I mean, that doesn't sound very organized the way I'm proposing it. I'm just thinking out loud.
Cool. Yeah.
Maybe you should refresh Barbara on what all we've gone through since she left us and came back too.
Barbara, you're mute.
Yeah.
There
Okay.
you go.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I lost the connection, but yes, that would be good. And I was also thinking to what Dave was saying, something could be put together in writing in an email that we could share. Just make sure we're all on the same page.
Right.
I'm working some with the Arts Council now. I could talk to those folks, the artists there. But.
Good.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yes, if you could fill me in, I'd love to.
Yeah, I think it could be as easy as just saying, us deciding a night we're going to do it. For instance, let's say, June 15th at 8:00, we're going to have this discussion about the arts in Winston-Salem, Forsyth County, and then telling groups and, saying we're going to do that. And then as our first one, just see how that works. How many people, what kind of response we get from sending out emails and contacting groups, and plan a discussion, maybe like India said, the state of the arts in Winston-Salem, Forsyth County or whatever, and just start with that and see how it goes.
Do you feel like it's worth making a proposal for what the actual artists would be discussing, proposing, showing? This is our first meeting would be to discuss and organize having this, let's just call it, I don't know what to call it, an arts festival on Zoom online. I don't know what to call it, but it could be talking about why you can't work, talking about the state of the arts, but it could also be singing a song or reciting poetry or doing something else as well. um, a pretty open kind of forum that might be, but we need ideas for organizing it that are going to be based on some experience in doing this kind of a live show, I think. I mean, that's going for the live show idea versus the repository of photographs that is available at all times. And it seems to me that that's something that's valuable, but this live idea is something, it's very different. So, I mean, if we could come up with sort of I think we can get a group of people together to talk about this idea, but I think we have to have the idea at least in a verbal form or in a form that we can write down and say, this is what we'd like to do. Would you like to come together to discuss this idea? The idea is to have an really kind of an expressive moment where people would be free to express themselves for a certain amount of time, or by lottery, or I don't know. Does anybody have any ideas about that, feedback for that?
I think you're right, David, that we've got to have somebody that really knows how to organize this, facilitate it, manage it. I mean, it could be a almost full-time job for several days just to kind of get something going.
I can reach out to, if you want, I can reach out to the people who organize the, can you hear me?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I can reach out to the women who organize that 500 person directors call every 2 weeks, and just kind of ask how they organized it, how they kind of put it together. You know, I mean, it'll definitely take some brainstorming and thinking about how to kind of facilitate it so it doesn't become, you know, like they mute everybody in the call, and you don't talk until you're like you'll be unmuted, right? So you can't just start talking whenever you feel like it. You know, there's like a process and respect for the person who's talking, and you know, and then if you cut, you know, they'll cut you off and unmute you, and mute you back up. So you lose certain controls. Like it's not like just open and free. But I actually have to go feed my kids. So.
Okay.
We understand it.
I'll tell you, let me say, I'm going to send you all an email, or I'll send it to Kelly and he'll send it to you. An email trying to sum up this and trying to put together the language for what ultimately we would like to have happen as this quote unquote public art piece that we're going to do. And sort of the organization stage, and then number 2, the actual thing. Does that sound like a way to start it out?
Good start.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because this is our original discussion about it. So yeah, that sounds
This
good.
This is a good discussion. The only person that hasn't said boo is Kelly.
It's Kelly. I noticed that.
Did you notice that?
I'm waiting for you to hash it out.
There's no lighting.
Yeah, let me know what you want me to do.
Kelly's like, all of a sudden they came up with this other public art project. Kelly, were there any other items on our agenda that we need to close?
No, there's just the public comment period. I don't see anybody waiting to get in.
Look at that guy.
So let's go back and talk about where you're landing on this COVID-19 project. So it's a state-of-the-art Zoom discussion. Am I getting that right?
David's going to send you an email that lines all that out.
So we have so India's going to talk to the people on this director's call to hear about some of the mechanics of doing such a large Zoom performance piece. I don't know what to call it.
Performance pieces.
Cool.
And I mean, I think we want to focus it on the arts, and and
Mhm.
make it inclusive as we can to the area. That's how I'm going to initially phrase it, and just say that we want to have initially a discussion with a lot of leaders in the arts from our county or the area, um, and then try to go forward with using that to make a plan. We'll see.
Sure. Bye, India.
I know. I know.
Bye.
She needs to go.
We've all been there.
I gotta go. All right. Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
All right, bye, guys.
See ya.
See you.
Bye.
India.
I know.
Well, yeah, and I just like to say again that I think we need to, whatever we decide to do, is kind of take the lead on it, because something like this can languish and everybody giving their point of view, and 5 months from now we're still not even doing it.
Right.
You kind of catch the iron while it's hot. It sounds like a great idea, and if we can just decide the way we want to do it, and then tell people we're doing it, like we're taking the lead on this. Please join us and doing it our thing.
Yeah. Well, I think that the getting in touch with other arts organizations is so important, because they're the ones that that know who the people are that are going to sign people up for it. So we don't kind of have the grassroots ability to we don't have the mailing lists. We don't have that. But
Yeah,
others do.
Don't we have a lot of locals in our database, Kelly?
We have some. I mean, we're not
Okay.
the Arts Council.
Well,
we got
we probably have more visual artists than performing or musical, any of those. Yeah.
But I mean, a great example would be like our bus station meeting we had for the bus shelters. That would have been an excellent Zoom meeting. All those people in that room talking about their ideas and stuff, different thing than what we're talking about now. But just even that group would have been a wonderful.
Yeah, I have most of their contact info.
Yeah.
Well, I do think that hearing about that, for instance, gives me the idea that if you had a person that would curate the meeting, that everybody who wanted to be in the meeting and share would have a certain amount of time, and they'd make a proposal. I'm going to talk about my bus shelter. I'm going to do a dance. I'm going to do this, so that the curator would be able to just select through people. And I mean, if it could take a long time if everybody were, if you had 50 people or 100 people, it might take a long time to go through it. I'm not exactly sure what the constraints are at this point, but it's something to explore, because it could be quite interesting and exciting.
I agree. At some point, I'm not sure who made the suggestion that maybe the first meeting is a sort of what is this group and what is useful and valuable, because I feel like I've heard like, what are the challenges facing artists right now? I've heard it's a performance opportunity, and I've heard it's an opportunity to make work in response to a challenge, and to share and retain that work in some way. And so, maybe we need to know a little bit more about what would be most useful to people, and to gather some others in the conversation.
And if you guys want me to dance, you might have to wait about 4 weeks. So, at least that long.
Okay. Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, real quickly, as far as going all the way back to when we first started talking about this, about a permanent thing, a piece of sculpture or whatever permanent for the COVID thing, I'd still love to have some future discussion about that. I think not only is it unprecedented, but we're also having a lot of statues from the past that we're doing away with or taking down. And this is an excellent, I think, thing to replace something like that with, or to move forward with, a public art piece that's hopeful, that's positive, that comes from a very awful time. So I'd like to just personally, for us to at some point discuss something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Sounds good.
Are we ready to adjourn the meeting? Can we do that on that note?
Mhm.
Kelly, did we cover everything we needed to cover?
Yes. And David's gonna kind of email me. You're gonna email me.
I am. I'm going to email you as best I can, you know, as succinctly as I can. I mean, this idea.
And Miss Waples, was she supposed to be here today? Or you said, but she just didn't.
She expressed interest. Maybe she just wanted to watch the meeting. I never heard back from her. I sent her the link. Maybe she had something else going on right now, but
Yeah, publicly, I just, you know, hey, she had some problems with I think our voting process in the bus shelter situation. So.
oh, did you hear from her?
I did not hear from her personally, but she had posted some things that I think I passed on to you or several of you that I could. So I was anxious to hear how that was resolved, or if we
No, I didn't hear from.
made any comment. Okay. Okay.
Do you want to pass? Could you send that to me? I'm not sure what she.
I will. I'll see if I can find it. I think Elizabeth, did I send it your way? I can't remember.
I think you and I sent it to each other. I think.
Oh, okay.
I'll try and find it, and I'll send it to Kelly.
I will. I'll find it, Kelly, and get it to you.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm going to adjourn the meeting, and thank you all for coming. Thank you all for being here. And maybe the July meeting will be in person. I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah, well,
Kelly may let you.
I'll work on that.
Okay.
See what we need.
All right. Be well, everybody. Stay safe.
Thanks,
All
everybody.
right.
Bye.
Yeah, guys. Thanks.
Bye.